Hello and welcome to another episode of Drunk Game Retellings. As always, I'm your host, Jack. Just a tiny little thing before we get started. First, I'd like to apologize for the outro for the last episode. I thought it sounded right, but that's what happens when you do something while you're drunk. Anyway, since this episode's a little special, this is actually the first episode I've done where I've recorded it through Google Hangout. So sometimes the audio is a little bit iffy compared to what I normally do, which is either a live or a Skype thing. So I apologize in advance for any echoes that appear throughout the show. I've tried my best to make them fix, but it just doesn't quite work out. But in any case, the show must go on, and with that, I am going to introduce my friend Amelia, who's going to talk about the first two Golden Sun games. So take it away, Amelia.
Hi, my name is Amelia, and I've been recruited to drunkenly retell the story of Golden Sun. Well, I guess not story, video game. Is it? No, that's a story. That's a medium to tell a story. Well, anyway, I'm drunkenly retelling Golden Sun 1 and 2 because you can't leave it out. It's part of the series. Obviously, but like it's necessity. So it starts in this little town called Vale, right? And you are this classic silent protag. You've got like this wicked yellow scarf and everything. Your name is Isaac, unless you rename your character, I guess. But who does that? I guess people do that. I never did that. Isaac was always Isaac. But your mom tells you to wake up because the Mount Elif boulder is going to fall. You know, that's actually the first time I've said Elif out loud. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. Hopefully. Anyway, the Mount Elif boulder is going to fall. And for whatever reason, that boulder is so significant and so known that immediately everybody in the town knows that that's dangerous. In the sense of like they think it's going to crush the entire town, and it's sort of like this, I guess, like 8 feet wide boulder, so it's not like minor. It's a big deal, and it's coming down from the Mount Elif, which is like this sacred thing as a whole, kind of. And when you get out of your house, basically your mom asks you this trick question for once. It's like, do you want to grab anything before you leave the house? And of course, every RPG player was like, yeah, I'd like to grab like all the brooms and all the boxes, like literally everything you will let me hoard, I will hoard it. And your mom is like, no, there's no time for that. And if you say, no, I don't want to grab anything, she says, good, you can replace stuff, you can't replace a life. So off the bat, Golden Sun is basically letting you know it's not up to any bullshit. And you head outside, you find your friend Garrett, who is trying to move a boulder? No, chest. Yeah, a chest full of shit, basically. And you tell him the same thing your mom told you, and you basically flee for your fucking life. And this boulder is being held back, and this is the first time you encounter synergy, which is basically magic. And these 4 dudes are holding back the boulder so that people can evacuate. So, you run by them, and if you try to talk to them, they like basically make varying groan noises, which on Gameplay Advance just showed up as kind of shaky text. But you knew it was super intense because the color of the dialogue box would change, like hella intense. So you run, and you run, and there's a scene a little bit down the path of this family. Basically, this chick that you're like super into, Jenna, her brother has fallen into the river, and this river is like direct from Mount Elif for whatever reason. And her mom and her dad kind of have this like neat riverside house that has like a port out onto the river. I think they were fishers. I don't know if they ever confirmed that. And Jenna and her mom and dad are staring at Felix, her older brother, who is clinging on to this wooden post. And Felix is also silent. And you and Garrett watch as Felix basically struggles to hold on to this post and isn't able to basically get back to the port, but he's still in the river. So Jenna's freaking out, and you're super into her, so you're like, well, not only is this an emergency, and I feel like I want to do the right thing because I'm the silent protag, but also, like, she's super cute, and it's not cool to let a dude drown. So you go to find the village elder, and village elder's like, oh, dude, sweet, I just happen to have these two super buff, super magical dudes with me, and they could totally go save Felix. And you're like, dope, that's awesome. So you take these two buff dudes, who look identical, by the way. They don't really spare a lot of effort on NPC sprites. Um, and you take these two buff dudes over to the port where Jenna and her family are, and as soon as you get there, the Mount Elite boulder falls. Like, the four guys can't hold it back any longer. And I actually don't know what happens to them. I guess they die. Wow, that's fucked up. Well, so the boulder falls, and of course, because the river is like direct from Mount Elite, right? So the boulder follows the river, meaning that it hits squarely on the port, knocking out Jenna's parents and Felix, and Jenna is left there alone. And there's this, big explosion sound and everything, and the two buff dudes also got hit by the boulder, and they're kind of like limping around. They can't go get help because they're injured, I guess. And you and your buddy Garrett are stunned. You have to actually like go talk to Garrett to get him to come with you. But as soon as you do, you exit the scene. There's these two like, oh man, how do I describe them? Well, they're strangers, right? So they're obviously important characters because they have funny colored hair. It's they've got like pointy ears and kind of markings on their face, and they're wearing like super intense armor. And they talk about the trap and the soul sanctum. They talk about how they had no idea the technology was so advanced. They had no idea that such catastrophe could be unleashed. And what was important is that they understood now how to get to, and then they cut off, and they noticed that you were listening. And as soon as they notice this, of course, your friend Garrett comes like bumbling in, like, "Yo, Isaac, why are you listening to these strangers?" So you can't deny that you were eavesdropping. And you, this level 1 kiddo, I think you had like 8 health or something stupid, get into this battle with these two strangers, and they knock you out immediately. I think it takes 1 attack if you're lucky to. And you pass out. And the next thing you wake up to, it's like 3 years later, and you're patching a roof, the roof of your house, which for whatever reason has taken you 3 years to patch since the Elite Boulder fell. So, like, that's an issue. But your friend Garrett's helping, and Jenna, who has been sort of adopted by the village as a whole, like, they never actually say where she lives since her house is still in shambles, but presumably somewhere since she seems to be generally all right. Anyway, she comes up and talks to you and talks to your mom, who's like, "Oh, thanks for finally fixing the roof." I was like, "You're just like your father." Oh, your father also died in the storm, I think. Right? Yeah, no, yeah, he totally did. Yeah, because he was helping Jen's parents. Yeah, that's important. So, he got hit by the boulder too. And your mom is like, "You're just like your father," and you just like get super bummed out about that, just because he's dead. And so you and your buddies go and talk to Creighton, who is your scholar friend, and he is super fucking nerdy in like the Urkelest possible way. But he's so precious. He's like the old man that wears bow ties and gets excited when you talk about science. That's him. So, and he's been studying synergy all his life, and he's been studying the source of it because he, unlike the Vale villagers, thinks it's not just like an innate thing that all people have. He thinks there's something causing it. And he is convinced that the soul sanctum, which is why he came to Vale, has something to do with guarding the information to synergy. Not necessarily synergy itself, but just like the how-to guide, I guess, the wiki how. So Creighton, Creighton's house is a little ways away, and it's actually the same cutscene that you have to go through to get to Jenna's house. And while you're on your way to Creighton's house, you see the same two strangers, like the exact same dudes. Like, they have not changed outfits or like redone their hair or anything. They are the exact same. And they're talking, and they actually name each other, so now you get their names, and it's Satcharos and Minardi. And they're talking like, this time we have to be more careful. This time we should take the old man with us. He knows too much. He knows whatever. And they catch you eavesdropping again. And you'd think by now that Garrett would have figured out, like, hey, maybe don't throw Isaac under the bus. But no. He once again is like, "What are you talking about, Isaac? You were totally listening." And Sasha and Minardi are basically like, whatever, you guys are harmless. I'm not going to deal with you right now. And they just leave. So you go to Creighton and you tell him that you saw the strangers, and you and Garrett are like, yeah, it's the same strangers that we saw that night 3 years ago. And Jenna and Creighton are both like, wow, you just never mentioned that. That might have been important. And so you guys retell this story to them, and Creighton and Jenna are like, what do you mean that they were trying to raid the Soul Sanctum? There must be, and Creighton is like super hyped because that means that there is something important there. So he's like, dude, we've got to also raid the Soul Sanctum. And pretty much all three of you are like, bro, like, Vale is literally here to guard it. Like, that's probably not wise. And, like, if it's true what they said that the Matter Leaf boulder fell because they raided it, maybe we shouldn't. But Creighton is like, listen, science. And then all three of you are like, well, I never realized that was at stake, so clearly let's raid the Sanctum. And, they go up into the sanctum, and there's a bunch of puzzles, and they're all like stupid simple because you're level 1. It's the beginning of the RPG, so you try to do your best, and so nothing's super hard. And you go through this temple, right, and you finally get to these like inner chambers, but what you think that are the inner chambers are actually sort of like the gateway, and you have to swap these moon and sun light beams. Basically, there are like stone carvings in the wall that sunlight shines through and projects a moon or a sun, but it has to be projected, like the sun has to be projected on the sun, and the moon has to be projected on the moon on the floor. And you have to swap around statues until it matches. Because if it doesn't match and you try to enter the inner sanctum, because I guess, I don't know, whoever designed that was probably really fond of Inception, but if you don't, then presumably the Mount Leaf boulder falls or whatever. And you also notice that there's a lot of, oh shit, what are they called? Psy rocks? Synergy rocks? Synergy stones. Synergy stones, that's it. Synergy stones. And they're bright purple. And typically when you come across one, they're like super rare, and all of your synergy is replenished immediately. So in this whole sanctum, weirdly, there's like 14 or so, oh, I mean, that's an exaggeration, but there's like at least 3 caves of synergy stone where it's made nothing of except synergy stones. And whatever you touch, your synergy is immediately replenished. And that's like super weird. Nobody comments on it, but like for the rest of the game, you never see that. So you enter the inner sanctum or whatever, and there are these 4 statues that are holding 4. They kind of look like glowing orbs. Yeah, that would, like kind of like a crystal ball with like an inner glow. Not like you put an LED light in it, but like legit glow, magic glow. Like Gandalf would be proud. And so Creighton is like, yo, kids, I'm super old. Why don't you go get the orbs? And you and Garrett are like, I guess. And Jenna's like, no. Because, like, they're on these weird pedestals far, far away, and you have to, like, jump between cliffs to do it. And Jenna's like, I'm not a fucking idiot. You guys go. You can go, like, face mortal peril for some stones. That's fine. That's fine. And so you go out and you get the first stone, and that's the Venus one, and Creighton freaks the fuck out, and as soon as you hold, he gives you this mithril bag to put it in. So why does Creighton have that? Great question. But anyway, you put it in this mithril bag, and Creighton is like, could it possibly be? And Isaac, since he's like an earth, I mean, basically you have 4 types of adepts, right? So earth, fire, water, wind, the standard shit. And you, Isaac, are an earth adept, Garrett's fire, so you pick up the Venus one and you're like, whoa, shit, this is super powerful. I can like feel the essence of Venus and whatever. And it confirms that these are the elemental stars. These are synergy. These are like the core of it. This is synergy at its purest. So you've basically just like captured synergy in a bag that you're just sort of like carrying with you casually and hopping around on dangerous cliffs, because why not? And you go to get the next one, which is the Mercury one, and instead of the usual no, you get the Mercury one and it's successful, and Creighton is also like, dude, sweet. Like, he has like a standard response, I can't remember, oh, it's like, great, excellent, now go get the rest, or something like that. And you go get the Jupiter one, which is so pretty. It's like purple and blue. Oh, I love that one. And you pick that one up, and for the first time, Creighton and Jenna are silent. Like, there's no congratulations, there's no nothing. And Isaac and Garrett kind of look around, and they turn around and they see Satros and Minardi standing behind Garrett, or behind Creighton and Jenna, being like all menacing and shit. And there's a masked figure with them too. And Satros and Minardi basically say like, "Yo, you're gonna get the last elemental star for us, or we're gonna fuck these two up. I'm gonna cut somebody or something." I don't remember. They threatened something. And the masked figure like flips shit. It's like, "Whoa, you said no one was getting hurt." And Satros and Minardi are like, "You can heal from bruises. They'll be fine." And Felix is like, "Fine, but you don't touch my sister." And big faux pas. So now you know that the masked figure is Felix. And Jenna freaks out, understandably, because she thought her brother was dead for like 3 years. And here comes Douche Canoe. Now he has a ponytail and a cape, and is weird. These two weird like quasi elves who are super interested in pure synergy and are willing to threaten people. So like clearly something's up. And they basically, oh, yeah, they basically tell you to keep going, and you and Garrett refuse. Or actually, I think it's at that point you can be like, "Yeah, okay, fine," but I mean, no one does that. So you say, "No, I'm not going to do that for you." And this fourth guy appears, and he's got like L'Oreal beautiful hair, and it's blue, and he teleports right next to you, and is like, "No, but you're going to do it though." And apparently that freaks you out enough that you're like, "Well, obviously I'm going to do it." So you go get the last star after giving him all three: Jupiter, um, Venus, and Mercury, and you headed to go get the Mars star, right? But as soon as you take the Mars star, the chamber starts collapsing because it turns out the synergy was holding the chamber together. So Cyrus and Minority are basically freaking out because they need the Mars star. They won't explain why, but they need it. And Alex is like, "Well, listen, take Creighton and Jenna with us, and that way, if these two survive, they will have the Mars star, and they will come for us, and then we can get the Mars star from them because they're kids," which is like the classic villain mistake of, I've underestimated these 12-year-olds that are somehow super powerful. Anyway, so you get the Mars star, and this floating rock with an eyeball appears. Like, I kid you not. It's literally a circular rock with a fucking eyeball dead center. And it calls itself the Wise One, and it hovers, and it tells you, "What are you doing? Just get out of here." As like the ground is shaking beneath you, and you're like barely holding on for life, and it's like, "Oh yeah, mortality, that sucks," and then it teleports you out. Like you have like this 10-minute long conversation with this guy who just totally forgets that you're mortal. And um, when you get out, basically you realize that Mount Leaf is erupting. Um, but for some like mystical reason, and it's like heavily implied that it's the Wise One, um, the lava never reaches Vale, and Vale is completely protected. Like there's a good like 10-meter barrier around the whole village. So that's pretty dope. Nobody dies, presumably. And you show up in the temple and do this weird interpretive dance retelling of the whole thing. And the village elder is like, "Wow, clearly you've been chosen." And Isaac and Garrett are like, "How did you get that from the story we just told?" And then the Wise One actually like appears as a vision to the entire village and is like, "Yeah, no, no, totally, you're definitely chosen." Despite like not knowing you were mortal like 5 minutes prior. And the Wise One was like, "Well, clearly you have a choice here. Are you going to go reclaim the elemental stars that the village was guarding, that we had no idea we were guarding up until like 30 seconds ago?" And if you say no, the game actually ends. But, you say yes, obviously. And you head out on your quest, and you get all excited and shit, and the whole village like wishes you well. But oh my god, super hardcore, right? Your mom doesn't come see you leave because she doesn't want to say goodbye. She doesn't want there to be a goodbye. She wants to know that she will see you again. And here's the fucked up shit, right? Like, it's not like Vale is off limits. It's not like you can't go home, right? But if you do, your mom has the doors locked, and everyone's like, "Yeah, she's super sick." Like, it sounds like terminal illness, but no one ever clarifies. So hope Dora's okay. Um, okay, so you head out to this next village, Vault, where apparently thieves have been just like ransacking shit, right? And you head up to the mayor's house to ask him like, "Yo, what's up, buddy?" Because whatever it is that makes you think that Mayor wants to talk to 12-year-olds, you are super stoked and ready to go. And I guess not 12-year-olds, they're like 16. Same-ish. But you go talk to the mayor, but before you can get to him, you meet his adopted son, Ivan, who is psychic. He's a wind adept, basically, but he had no idea that what an adept was. He just assumed that, like, he was just psychic, I guess, and never really thought more about it. And he reads your mind and is like, "Oh, dope, interesting story. Yeah, I should totally join you on your quest." And you and Garrett are like rightfully violated, and you're like, "What the fuck?" And Ivan is like, "Oh, is it weird when I read your mind?" And you and Garrett are like, "Yeah, a little bit, bro. Maybe you should like ask before you do that, or like maybe be subtler about it instead of like holding your hand to people's forehead." And Ivan's like, "Yeah, dude, totally, totally." And he basically tells you that his father figure-ish, because I guess the mayor wasn't really that. I don't know. Um, basically, had this like super sacred staff called the Shaman's Rod, and he lost it to these thieves, and for whatever reason, it's Ivan's fault, and he has to get it back. So he helps you, or he joins your party, and on the condition that you help find the Shaman's Rod. So you end up finding it in this attic where these thieves are hiding out and stealing shit. And they steal the weirdest crap too, like a dog bone, I think, and like some fucking lucky pepper, like which I guess in RPG terms, like it increases your luck stat, but it's also just pepper. But anyway, so you get this back, you get like this golden urn back and all this shit, and you get rewarded by the town, and everybody's like, "Wow, you're incredible! I can't believe we doubted 12-year-olds or 16-year whatever." And Ivan is like, "Wow, I can't believe you helped me! Like you're such a stranger, and you just helped me." And instead of like, bro, we just like mind melded. Like it's too late for that. But Ivan basically tells you that he has to go find his master or whatever. He calls him master, but like I guess he describes him kind of like a fuck. It's weird. But anyway, he yeah, he says he's gotta go find his dude, and you and Garrett kind of head on your way because the Mercury Lighthouse, which is the closest lighthouse, is like super far north in a village called Imil. Imil. I always thought Imil in my head, but I guess it's Imil. Everybody calls it Imil. Anyway, you go through this like cave and shit, and Ivan meets you before that and is like, I thought about it, and for one, I can't get into the thieves' village where my master is like chilling, but two, you're also like trying to save the world, and I should probably help with that, given that you helped me find this stick. And you guys join party, and he becomes your third party member. So you get through this cave, right? And you get to this town called Biblin. Biblin is fucked up. Basically, this mayor like wants like a really fucking huge house for like him and his wife, and there's this like enchanted forest that's like ruled by these fairy trees, and basically they tried to take some enchanted wood, and clearly that did not go well because people are getting turned into trees and shit. So you got to go through this forest and like convince the tree that like, no, people are super nice, even though this tree has had like shit hacked off of him, and he for whatever reason believes you and is like, oh, well, I'm glad you kids came and talked to me. Here, have some wood. And so you help the village. You return people that were turned into trees back into people, which is nice of you to do. And once you have all of that experience, then typically you have, I mean, because I guess technically you could just skip Biblin and just let them suffer. I've never done that though. I don't know what happens. Oh no, because the roadway is blocked. If you don't help them, then the roadway is never cleared. Anyway, so you get through all this mess, right? And you go up to Emil, where there's this healer chick, and she's super hot and super chill and like clearly a water adept. And her um cousin yeah, her cousin Alex has gone missing recently, and she can't figure out where he's gone, but he's been obsessed with the Mercury Lighthouse lately. So she helps you. It helps you get into the Mercury Lighthouse and figure out all the puzzles of the Mercury Lighthouse. Because a lot of them require like water adept spells like frost and shit. And you get up to the top, and Alex is the blue-haired dude that teleported next to you in the Soul Sanctum. So you fight him, and you fight Satros and Minardi as you watch Kraden and Jenna like head down this mystical elevator. So you've totally missed them, but you still have to fight Satros and Minardi, which is a fucking tough ass fight, right? And but once you beat them, or oh no, I think you just fight Satros. Yeah, because Minardi takes the two with Alex elsewhere. Okay, so you fight Satros, but before you do, he tosses the Mercury elemental star into like this empty pit at the top of the lighthouse, and this huge, giant glowing orb rises out of it, and so the lighthouse has been lit. You're too late. The Mercury lighthouse has been lit. You can't get the elemental star back. I guess you could. They never really say why you can't, but anyway. So they get away. Mercury lighthouse is lit. You defeat Satros, but he kind of like limps away because you don't kill him. Because you're like, no, we're pro tags. We don't do that. Anyway, and Mia's like, oh, that's the name of the healer chick, Mia. She joins your party and is like, wow, clearly I have to stop my nutso cousin with the baller hair because that's fucked up. And joins your quest, and shit happens, right? So you go through like lots of like little bitty quests, little towns and shit, and you come across this this lake, I guess, a really big lake, body of water. Well, maybe a sea, because yeah, the sea is like inlocked or landlocked, but like oceanish sized, isn't it? I don't know. Big fucking lake or small tiny sea, one of those. And you have to cross it by a boat, right? And you know that you have to get to this town, Tolby, because they can secure your passage to Liverio, which is where the Venus lighthouse is, and you have to beat Satros and Minardi there. So, you basically get hired as bodyguards and have to fight all these bizarre monsters as crewmen are just like picked off. And, I mean, obviously you do it. And you get to this town, right? Now, this is important for later. The mayor of Tolby is this weird old guy, really weird old guy named Bobby. Or, yeah, Bobby. It's B-A-B-I, so I always called him Baby in my head, but it's probably Bobby. And you find him collapsed in this cave, and he's invisible. And he tells you that he needs a draught that he keeps in the very end of this cage, so basically a dungeon. And you agree to go get it for him. When you bring it back, he explains that draught has helped him live for like 300 years. And you're like, what the fuck? What is that shit? And he's like, yeah, it's a secretive synergy, but I don't know how to make it, and I desperately need to go back to the place where I got it. And you say, well, where'd you get it, man? That's important. We should figure that out. And he tells you that he got it from Lemuria, which is basically Atlantis for this world. So you're kind of like, okay, and sort of start thinking he's full of shit. Until he basically throws money at you and is like, listen, I've seen you guys, you're obviously skilled. If you can prove yourself in this gladiatorial battle thing, I will give you a ship. I will give you everything you need to go do the lighthouse thing or whatever it is you kids do, as long as you also find Lemuria for me and get me this draught. So you're like, okay, I will take your money, I guess. And you head to the Venus lighthouse, which is across this really dope desert. And you basically like fight tornado lizards. It's awesome. So you get this Venus lighthouse, right? And it's all sand puzzles and shit, so it's all like weighted stones, and it's awesome. If you haven't played it, you should. And you get to the top of the lighthouse, and Satros and Minardi are there again, and Felix is there, and then this chick that they kidnapped from Tolby, Sheba, who is said to be like this prophet. Basically, there's a story behind her that like she fell from the sky, and the mayor of Liverio has kept her as a daughter since. Like she's sort of like held against her will, like she wants to travel the world and shit, but nobody will let her because they want to protect her, blah blah blah, whatever. And her name is Sheba, and Felix is for whatever reason super protective of her. And Satros and Minardi are pissed that you've caught up, right? Because you're just kids. And Alex shows up and basically Says, what are you waiting for? Throw the star in. And just like at the Mercury Lighthouse, they throw the star in, and you can't stop them. And the tower, however, instead of like the Mercury Lighthouse that just sort of peacefully lit, the Venus Lighthouse splits into 4 pieces. Like the entire fucking lighthouse splits into 4 pieces. Which of course, causes some problems. So Sheba like almost falls off the lighthouse and Felix dives after her. Like dives. So they're both caught by this weird wave that like carries them to this like peninsula. It's bizarre. But it basically TLDR, it leaves you alone with Satchel and Minardi again, and Alex just pieces the fuck out again. And you say you obviously have to fight them because reasons. And so you fight them and you win. And they're kind of sitting there limping, but they get kind of weird and shaky. They're like, I feel something, I feel it in my blood, I feel it. And they turn into this fusion dragon, but it looks like it's involuntary. Like, it looks like they didn't mean to. So you fight this dragon, right? And you kill the dragon, and Cedric and Minardi fall into the lighthouse and die. It is really sad. And the lighthouse is lit, the 4 pieces all come back together, and the orb is like this glowing golden thing, sort of similar to the blue golden orb at the Mercury Lighthouse. And the last scene of Golden Sun 1 is you and Garrett and Isaac and you and Garrett and Ivan and Mia all standing next to this ship that Bobby has bought and like furnished for you, saying like, go chase after them, because the Jupiter Lighthouse is on like a totally different continent, so you've got to go like find that shit and need a boat. And the last scene is you guys like sailing away like, fuck, we've already lost 2 lighthouses. What the fuck are we gonna tell the Valian elders? Shit. So that's where Golden Sun 1 ends. Golden Sun 2 picks up right before the split of the Venus Tower, and it starts from Jenna's perspective, who is escaping the Venus Lighthouse because she doesn't want to fight Isaac and Garrett, but she believes the lighthouse needs to be lit. And they don't explain why she believes this. And Alex talks to her because she's upset that Satchel and Minardi are staying up there because she doesn't want them to fight Isaac either. And Alex is like, do you not think it's necessary to hold them back? And she says, I don't think it's necessary because we can outrun them. There's no need to hurt them. Basically doing the protecting. And Alex is like, whatever, naivety. And Jenna's, flipping him off. And you basically escape Venus Lighthouse. You beat up a bunch of guards and run to the peninsula to meet Felix and Sheba. But Felix and Sheba are never there, obviously, because they fell from the lighthouse and are caught by this weird wave. And this wave is what severs the peninsula into an island. And just ignore physics for a little bit. Because this island gets severed and floats away. And Felix and Sheba are miraculously on this island with you, Jenna, and Alex. And when you wake up, now it's Felix's perspective. You have swapped to a different silent protagonist. And, so basically, you go through all these towns, right? And it's explained that, you are lighting these lighthouses to save the world. For whatever reason, and they don't explain all the details. But basically, Satchel and Minardi have convinced Felix, at the very least, and Jenna to at least some extent. And I think Creighton's with you, actually. Yeah, no, Creighton's totally with you. He must be. Yeah, no, he is. And Creighton believes it, so obviously it's legit. So, you have to light these lighthouses to save the world, so it's imperative that you beat Isaac and stuff to the lighthouses, and now that Satchel and Minardi aren't in the way, you don't have to, like, fight them, you could just, like, outrun them. And, so you get through all these, like, trials and tribulations where you get all these new powers and shit. And, you get to this town, right, where this strange guy has been imprisoned, and everybody thinks he's a pirate. And one of the pirates that, like, ransacked the town a little ways earlier. His name is Piers. He has blue hair, much like every other Mercury adept in the game. And you read his mind, and he senses you doing this, which tells you that he's an adept for sure. But when you talk to him, he basically is like, I plead the fifth, I'm not talking to you. and you have to go basically prove his innocence. You go out of your way and do like 30 quests, like it's so tedious. And you finally prove his innocence, and you come back, and Piers is like, "Oh my God, why did you do that for me? That's so sweet, but also fuck off." And like, you have to chase him down to this festival where he's searching for this orb. You don't know why. He won't explain why. But you help him get the orb back, even the whole time he's like, "You don't have to do this. Please leave." And when you get the orb back, he's like, "I guess I can trust you. Whatever." And he takes you back to this ship, and he says it's a Lemurian ship. And you go like, "Wait, Lemurian? Like the legend of Lemurian?" And he was like, "Yeah, no, I'm from there." So everybody in the party is clearly like, "What? That is legit." And Pierce is like, "Yeah, I gotta get back there like stat, because I was supposed to report on the state of the outside world, and now I'm like a year late." So they probably think I'm dead. It's really not great. So, you spend the next part of the game figuring out how to get to Lemuria. And basically a lot of water puzzles. You gotta get your boat all prepped and shit. You gotta get armed. And then they fucking fight Poseidon. Like, no hyperbole. You fight Poseidon, trident and everything. And once you kill Poseidon, you can get into Lemuria. Like, no one ever mentions Poseidon again, like, as if it's sort of just like the, I don't know, hazing for getting into Lemuria. Anyway, you get in there, and everybody's like, "Oh, Piers, yeah, I haven't seen you in forever." And you're like, "Oh, wow, these are like 5-year-olds that recognize you. How on earth?" And Piers is like, "What? No, they're like 200. If you realize that Lemurians don't really die. Not really. Like, I mean, like, after 3,000 years, maybe, but even, like, they don't even get decrepit until, like, I don't know, 2,500 years. I don't know what the time frame is. Anyway, so, like, you suddenly realize that Lemurians sort of have this same property that Bobby was talking about. And it's from this fountain that's in the center of the town. You can take a bottle of it, and it's, it just functions as a healing potion. Like, it never does anything else. But, which is really disappointing. But though I guess they couldn't just, like, be like, "Yeah," and then you never aged again. But, anyway, you talk to the, elder of the town, who explains to you why the lighthouses need to be lit, and like TLDR, global warming. That's legit what it is. Like, you have to light these lighthouses because the energy of the world itself dies without them being lit. Like, if you keep energy hoarded up in one place and like misuse it and cause catastrophes in the world with it, because like butterfly effect and whatever, then it will inevitably harm the planet. And it has split up the continents, and he shows you this map that was from like ancient times. Well, I guess like recent times for him, but like ancient for you. And clearly the continents have changed drastically and they've diminished. Like, it used to all be, it was kind of like Aegean, like, and like it used to all be one continent. But so you look at these maps and you're like, well, clearly we were on the right track, and Isaac is just totally full of shit. And you are now like sworn on this quest because you super believe in it. And you head to the Jupiter Lighthouse. Once you get to the top of the Jupiter Lighthouse, oh shit, I forgot to tell you. Hold on. So before you get Piers out, right, you run into these two people that look weirdly like Citrus and Minardi. But it's Karst and Agacho. And Karst is Minardi's sister. And she is furious that Minardi is dead and wants to kill Isaac. Though, weirdly enough, not Garrett, Ivan, or Mia, just Isaac, as if, like, they weren't involved. But, anyway. And because Isaac was, like, your childhood friend and Jenna's love interest, obviously, the whole group is really reluctant to tell her where they think Isaac is or how to predict where he's going, that stuff. So, you and Karst kind of develop this, like, hostile relationship. Like, you're technically still on the same side because you want to like lighthouses, but Karst's main goal is to avenge Minardi. So you get to the Jupiter Lighthouse, and Isaac is there. The whole party is there, and for once, Isaac is speaking because he's no longer the protag. So you can hear him speak, and he totally talks like a nerd. Like, he says, like, "Blast! We haven't gotten to the lighthouse in time," and like it's super overdramatic. It's hilarious. But Karst and Agadio have set up all these traps, and they've basically like they've trapped Mia, they've trapped Garrett, and they're like barely hanging on for like they're dangling off like the edge of the lighthouse. and Isaac and Ivan are trying desperately to make sure that their friends don't like fucking die horribly. And you basically are like, oh my god, what the fuck do I do? And Jenna and Sheba and Piers and Creighton, obviously, are all like, listen, Felix, go light the lighthouse before anybody can stop you. We'll be here and we will go save Isaac and all that and just tell Karst to fuck off. So, you go up to fight to light the lighthouse, and Karst and a guy who actually try to stop you because they, wait, is that what happened? Hold on. Yeah, no, no. No, you light the lighthouse, and then Karst and a guy who try to stop you because they know you're gonna go back down and try to save Isaac, I think. Basically, you have a big boss battle at the top. At the end of it, you and Isaac's party all meet up in this town and you explain everything, and Isaac's like, well, why didn't you fucking say so? And they join your party. So now you have 8 people. And when the people of, what's this all? What's it called? Not Liberia. Hmm. Well, this town basically, like, half of it flew up and became the moon. It's pretty dope. And it's really heavily hinted that that's where Sheba was from, was like that town, but like the moon part of it. I don't remember what it's called. Well, it's a really cool town. Um, Lots of like hieroglyphs and shit. And they built you this magical ship based off of like ancient technology left in ruins, or in ruins and graphs and diagrams by the people that flew up and became the moon, I think. Yeah. Basically, they give you wings for your ship. Like, and I don't mean mechanical. Like your ship just flies now. And that enables you to get across the glaciers to get to Prox. And you find out that that is where all the weird elf-looking people are from. That's where Satras and Minardi are from. That's where Carson and Gadio are from. And why Prox is so desperate to light the lighthouses is because they're right next to the Mars lighthouse, which is at the edge of the world. And keep in mind, in this game, the world is flat. So when the world is kind of degrading, like the people in Lemuria explained, the edge is getting closer and closer to the center of the flat world. So the Mars lighthouse is at the very edge, and Prox is just behind it. So basically, if the Mars lighthouse falls, Prox will inevitably fall behind it. So you have to light this lighthouse. You have to. And once you get to the village, there's this huge revelation, and like the game makes it so casual and so innocuous that it's mind-numbing, that your parents are still alive. Felix and Janet's parents are still alive. Oh, spoiler alert. I guess too late. But Felix and Janet's parents are still alive, and Isaac's dad is still alive, and they were in Prox, and the Proxians were keeping them because they had information on Vale, and they weren't hostages. They were actively trying to help light these lighthouses. So you get to the village, and you're like, and Felix is like, yo, where are my parents? And people are like, I don't know. They just sort of disappeared. We can't find them anywhere. But we know Carson Nagadio just went to go, like, solve all the puzzles of the Mars lighthouse so that you guys could take the Mars star and just get on up there. Oh, no. Because Carson Nagadio took the Mars star from you because they don't trust you. Yeah, okay. That's why you fighted Carson Nagadio at the Jupiter lighthouse. Yeah, okay. There we go. So they have the Mars star, and you need to get it back, I guess. And, they're going to go light the lighthouse. And, you get through all these puzzles, and it leads you to this room with these 2 dragons, right? And they look eerily similar to Satras and Minardi. And you fight them, and there's just this sinking feeling. You as the player, and you just know. And at the end of it, they morph back into Karst and Agadio. And you know that you've killed them. And Isaac and Garrett and Ivan and Mia are like, yeah, this has happened before. We don't know why, but Satras and Minardi did this too. And Karst and Agadio give you the Mars star, and they're like, and you talk to them, it's so sad, and they're like, I've always been so warm because, they're Mars adepts and fire and shit. And they're like, but I feel so cold. And they're like shaking and shivering. They basically watch them in their death throes. It's really sad. Anyway, after that, you climb up to the top of the Mars lighthouse, and you heave the Mars star into the center of the lighthouse. Oh no, you're about to. And like all eight of you are standing there like, holy shit, I can't believe it's come to this. But the wise one appears. And the wise one is like, I can't let you do this. I'm supposed to be the protector of the soul sanctum, and you, especially you, Isaac and Garrett, have betrayed me. I told you not to let these stars get into the lighthouses, and here you are, fucking up royally. And you guys are like, listen, listen, though, global warming. Basically, saying like, we're killing the earth, we have to light the lighthouse. And Wise One's like, yeah, that's dope and all, except here's the thing. When all four lighthouses are lit, the beams of them all kind of connect and meet over Mount Elif in this golden light called the Golden Sun. Wah, wah, um, beams down on the top of Mount Elif, and whoever is there is granted godlike powers. And you kind of get this weird flashback to Alex being like, I need all these lighthouses to be lit for reasons. And you cut to this scene of Alex climbing Mount Elif, basically like desperately trying to get to the top before you light the lighthouse. So this whole time he's been playing you, he's been playing Satros Minardi, he's been playing Karsten Agadio. All he wanted was that golden sun. And Wise One is like, I can't let you do that. So, but you know that if you don't do this, the Mars lighthouse is going to fall and inevitably the world will end. It might be slow, but in the next 4 generations, it'll be fucking gone. So, you guys still stand firm and try to throw the Mars light or the Mars elemental star in. And the Wise One says, I can't let you do that, and brings this 3-headed dragon out. And you fight this dragon, you have to kill it one head at a time. And it is so fucking hard. And but when you kill it, it turns into your parents, which is so mean. So it turns into your parents. It turns into Jenna and Felix's mom and dad, and Isaac's dad. So you know, the 2 Mars heads and 1 Venus head. Oh, and everyone is horrified. And Isaac is the only one who is like, you know, I kind of knew, but I also knew I had to do this, which is like dark as shit. And remember, dude's like 18. Anyway, you throw the Mars star in because what the fuck else are you gonna do, right? And the Mars lighthouse light actually revives your parents for again reasons, and so they're all revived and shit. And the Wise One is basically like, lol, it was a test. We made you kill your parents for funsies, and shows up to the top of Mount Elif and just like punches Alex like 20 feet into the ground. No hyperbole, like literally just like stomps on him and is like, huh, that's funny though. And the end of the game is you and your buddies. You're all headed back to Vale, and it's all like cheesy. And your mom, or rather Isaac's mom, Dora, sees her husband for the first time, and everybody sees Jenna's parents. And they're like, oh my god, so nobody actually died in the Mount Elif boulder. We all freaked out for nothing. Maybe if we'd like done some research, all this could have been prevented. Oh well. Anyway, you go back home and it's all cheesy and happy, and there's lots of cutscenes and beautiful paintings and stuff. And that is Golden Sun 1 and 2, and you should play it. The end.
And welcome back. Welcome to our discussion section where the person you just listened to is with me. Her name is Amelia, as you heard before. So, hey, Amelia.
Hi.
How's it going?
Thanks for having me.
That's great.
Thanks.
That's good. That's good to hear. That's a good sign. But you just talked about well, I guess 2 games, but they're both kind of pair together well. Golden Sun 1 and 2, I guess. And just to kind of start things off, when was the first time you played these games? Like what? Like when did this all happen?
So, okay, it's a funny story, right? I had just moved to Hong Kong, which was kind of a world shaker for me as a kid. And my parents, like, I was actually for a kid, I actually really didn't care which looking back on it was really weird, but my parents were super worried that I was like panicking and shit, which is fair because I had to learn a whole new language and all that crap. Like it's a lot to ask of like an 8-year-old. But
Yeah.
I was for whatever reason fine with it. But I took, every opportunity to be like, well, if you wanted to buy me stuff to make me feel better. And my parents were like, yeah, yeah, no, you love video games, right? Let me get you a video game. So I asked for Pokemon because that was like the only thing I could think of at the time. And my parents went out to this vendor, and they at the time didn't realize, and maybe this has changed since I haven't been back in Hong Kong for a while, but there's lots of pirate vendors, and you don't know that they're pirated vendors until like you go home and plug it in, and like there's clear like missing pieces.
Oh no.
Right. So basically, they sold them this Pokemon Fire Red, like the game casing, but inside of it was Golden Sun. So I got this game entirely by accident, and I actually like didn't even play it for a year because I was so disappointed that it wasn't Pokemon, and I was just a brat like that.
Oh.
But I ended up, I actually met my best friend from this because I started playing it on the bus because this chick that I sat next to was just horrible, and she wouldn't let me sit next, even though it was the last seat left on the school bus. Like there was no other option. I had to sit next to her. She did not want to share a seat. And so she'd like scratch my arm and yell at me and make fun of me and like push my backpack out. It was awful. And so
Ew.
I started bringing my Game Boy with me to ignore her. That way I had something to do with my hands and to look at something to just focus on for the bus ride. And like a few bus rides in, I noticed that she'd stopped scratching me. And I figured like maybe she just realized it's futile and like I go to this school too. You can't just keep doing this. And but no, I noticed eventually she was staring at the video game, and both of us were craning to see the screen of this Game Boy Advance, right? And one day, I think it was like 2 months in, like she was so stubborn. She finally went, "What you playing?" Start. And we've been friends now for like 15 years. Her name is Kitty. She's amazing and I love her. But I always make fun of her because we started out so rocky.
Oh
And it was
wow.
Golden Sun that ended up bringing us together. Like
Oh,
we
that's great.
and everything. I know, right? So a total accident from beginning to end. And I just adore the game. It has so much sentimental value to me.
That's honestly a great story. That's a great story. Just
Right? Like who does
yeah,
that?
because it's like before kind of starting, like I had a chance to play a little bit of this game, and I also for just want for knowledge sake, I looked it up, and the game is will be 15 years old this year.
Yep.
So
Which is
that's
old
yeah.
as our friendship.
But but yeah, I did not play this on the Game Boy Advance. It's
Good.
available on the Wii U along with the sequel game, and I'm not sure if the one after that was put on the Virtual Console or not. But
I
current,
don't know. That's Dark Dawn, and I didn't want to tell that one because it's just so different, and I don't have that one memorized as much. But it's really different. Still haven't decided if I like it or not.
is that
It's
also the
very.
Game Boy Advance or is it on the DS?
It was DS. It was
Okay.
actually the reason I bought a DS.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Man.
Yes. No, 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 no. It's not three. It's not DS. It's 3DS. That's why.
I
That's
was so you got
yeah. No,
oh.
no, 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 wait, no, 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 it was DS because the SP was what I bought voluntarily because it had the backlight. Yeah, okay, got the back now.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I definitely bought the backlight one as soon as I possibly could.
So yeah, you had this experience like growing with it. Did you ever like replay it like
Oh
after?
God.
Oh really?
Oh yeah, no, I have Virtual Boy Advance on basically every single computer I've ever owned, and the first thing I do is download Golden Sun.
Oh wow.
Oh God, yeah, always. And I actually, as you knew me all throughout undergrad, I actually played that during every single one of my courses, um, because I'm extremely ADHD, right? So I have to do something And that
Yeah.
was the most innocuous thing I could do, so like it wasn't garnering attention. If I managed to sit in a position where it wasn't distracting people behind me, it was something that I could do mindlessly because I knew it by heart.
Yeah.
So I could just do that constantly. And as a result, I know that game real well.
So, what would you say is your favorite aspects about the game? We've heard you talk about the plot. We've heard your kind of origin story, but what do you think has kind of drawn you in all these years?
You know, I like that the original protagonist was wrong. And like and he wasn't like arrogant or anything, and he wasn't like trying to be self-righteous and be like, "Oh, this is the way of our village" or anything. Like he genuinely was ignorant that this was causing all this damage or whatever. And you figure this out in the second game, and as soon as you tell him, Isaac is just like, "Oh, well, in that case." And I feel like it was one of the biggest lessons I ever learned of like, if you fucked up, the first thing you should do is admit it and work towards whatever. And that always stuck with me. That this franchise was totally okay with this golden child protag that they built up in the first game, essentially accidentally being a villain. And it gives you this perspective into like the tragic story of Satchers and Misery who were just trying to save their village and like died fighting these 16-year-olds. Like it was nuts. And it just totally warps the first game once you know what's actually going on.
Yeah, that kind of like hearing this all both. It's actually really cool. There aren't really a lot of games that I've experienced that, especially like JRPGs, where they kind of do a twist like that.
Yeah, like
It's like,
typically the ending is
yeah,
like, I have friends, therefore magic or whatever, and like you've been right all along or some shit, and it's some ultimate validation. This one was definitely the opposite of that. It was somebody who was, I guess, sick of it that made this game, and it always stood out, and I never really forgot that.
yeah. There's one I'm trying to remember top of my head. Oh, that's right. The only game I can say that's really pulled something similar to that was did you ever play Nier or heard of it?
Oh, I've heard of it, but no, I haven't played that. What's that one
Nier
about?
Nier is a game that takes place in a many years into the future, where it's like you're playing like the last bit of humanity, and it's like very clear that humanity is going to die out after this generation, and
Right.
it's basically you play a dad, a sad dad. I feel like this game came up before that became a trend, where
Yeah.
his daughter gets
Before
kidnapped.
Heavy Rain, you mean?
It's like it starts off in like a weird way where it's like well not weird, it's like a basically like you raise your daughter for a while and then she like gets kidnapped if I remember. But like a lot of shit gets real like after that and like as things progress, like this is a very sad game. But
Hmm.
it's like when you finish the game first, you get the sense that oh I did the right thing. But the thing is about it, each time you replay it, you don't start back at the beginning. You start back at a different point with
Oh,
something
that's weird.
completely changed. And you
Yeah.
learn yeah, and you learn more and more about like what you've been doing. And you
Mm.
realize, oh, maybe I wasn't doing the right thing.
Oh my God. That's
That
screwed up. What console's that for?
it's for the 360 and the PS3.
Okay.
It's kind of like a cult game now because initially it wasn't too well received, but it's now getting a sequel slash like spiritual sequel by Platinum Games is doing the gameplay for it, and but it's the same people doing the story.
Uh-huh.
It's called like Near Automata is the new one, and this one I believe is going to come out this year, at least in Japan. But
Mhm.
it's the director of that. I think. Did you ever play? I think he did Dragon Card. Did you ever hit Dragon Guard? Have you ever heard of those?
I've played a little bit of Dragon Guard. I think I dropped it because I moved back to the States and, power
Yeah.
adapted.
Well, it's like he like the stories that the guy does. They're all really fucked up and good. So so I wouldn't necessarily call. It's like I don't quite see that in Golden Sun. At least the part I played or
Yeah,
heard.
no, they totally play it up as this like campy, cheesy crap, and then just like hit you over the head with it in the second game. But the second game is also the same vibe. Like you get this campy, cheesy, I'm the misunderstood protag, and like all this. Like you even have the tragic hero cape that only covers one shoulder.
Right.
But And in both times you're like, well, clearly Felix is the protagonist, and in the first game you're like, well, clearly Isaac is the protagonist, and in both games they're completely justified, and it's so cheesy. But like that confrontation, and as soon as because like when you're playing through it, it's like, oh well, that seems supernatural. And then like when that time when you shut the Game Boy down and you kind of like go do something else, you think, well, that's fucked up.
Yeah.
It's one of those things that hits you kind of as an aftershock, and they have all the details in there. It's not that they're missing. It's just that it's done so casually that it's hard to pick up on, and it's really nice. And there's so many details to it, and like extra quests and stuff that you can do to get certain summons or whatever. It's really really in depth, and I've it's sort of like the bar that I hold games to as far as like replayability, because I can still replay that game and find something that I haven't done before. It's really impressive for something that old.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely agree because it's like the way I experienced this at least this game before. Like the only thing I knew about it was that Isaac was an assist trophy in Smash Bros.
Yeah.
And he shot giant hands. I was going through. It was like, okay, where's the giant hands? And then all of a sudden, they turns out it's your little psychic power.
Yep.
Thing, and I was like, oh, there it is.
Yep. I always forget that that was the power they chose, because towards the end you get this sword called the Soul Blade, and you literally like bring a meteor down on your head. But no, they chose the move hand. Like, okay.
Yeah, they chose Master Hand as your ability. But yeah, I thought it was interesting. Like I reached the point where you meet your third companion. The Ivan, is that the psychic guy?
Yep. He's so awkward.
It's awkward, and it's like that. For some reason, it gave me like X-Men vibes. Because it's like he's so confused about like, oh, I thought I was weird this whole time, and then here comes Charles Xavier, teenager, going like, oh no, you.
Is it like Vale is like maybe 2 steps away from Vault? So like, what were you doing this entire time, Ivan? But yeah, no, he's totally freaked out that like other people can do these things.
Yeah, it just reminded me of like the multiple ways people try to do like Jean Grey. Like when they do her origin story, it's just like, oh, she reads a bunch of minds, is called a weirdo, and then all of a sudden, bright-eyed guy comes over, is like, oh, you come with me.
Hey, if you join my boy band.
So I only had a bit of chance to kind of taste some of the combat in the game, so I don't have the greatest opinions on it, because it's like I didn't really see much of it. But it's like, what did you think about it, honestly? Because it was kind of a weird take on like a turn-based, for me at least. It's weird.
Yeah. So like, it's turn-based, right? But it's unlike most turn-based games, your stats affect the turns. So like, whoever is fastest will always go first.
Right.
And like, if that's your enemies, then that's your enemies. So your enemies may attack twice before you can attack, and you may need to equip something speedier to get yourself in there before they do, or whatever your strategy is. And you really kind of strategize it. It's sort of it to me, it kind of combined like the Final Fantasy turn-based. It's the regular old, your team goes, their team goes, your team goes, that kind of crap, with Fire Emblem, where you could stun somebody and then they can't move for a turn, or that kind of crap. And it's not difficult to do. Like, it's not a special move. It's something that's available to everybody. So it's always a possibility. So you expect it from them, they expect it from you. They have ways to well, what would it be? Anti-stun, whatever the stun. That kind of stuff. So you really, and on top of that, I didn't explain during the story, but there's these genie that are
genie.
Yeah, and they're basically parts of the elemental stars, and I think there's 12 per. 12 per, yeah, because there's 6 in the first game and 6 in the next game for each element. And you can put all the Venus Ginny with Isaac so that, the Venus adept has all the Venus Ginny. Or you can mix them up and make different classes. So you can have Isaac have access to wind synergy or fire synergy, or water synergy, etc., etc. And like because it's all mixed, it's different than what a natural water adept would have. So like you mix earth and water, you get plants, or you mix earth and fire and you get lava, like shit like that. So you can really strategize. Like if you have opponents that are particularly weak to fire, you can give everybody some element of fire by making the Ginny and making sure your stats are set so that you have the right turns. Because sometimes you want a later turn
Yeah.
for reasons, but like that's more complicated metagame stuff I won't get into. But like that kind of thing. So it's a little bit more complicated than just turn-based, which is simultaneously awesome and also fucking annoying. Like it depends on how seriously you want to play the game. So if you want to play it super seriously, it's like Fire Emblem. You can get hella into it. But there's not really like you can casually play it too, and there's easy mode and normal mode, and you'll be fine if you just stick with the regular stuff. It's just going to be harder than it ordinarily would be. Like normal mode, I would say if you don't use any of the metagame, would be as difficult as a regular game's hard mode.
Right.
Not like extreme mode, but like hard. Like it's a struggle for sure.
Because I remember when I first encountered the genie, I was like, "Wait, what's this Pokemon thing in here?
Yeah,
like,
they are.
wait, collect them." Because it's like when you were mentioning like it was in a Pokemon game, it kind of made sense because it's
That's I think what they marketed it to my parents as. They were like, "Oh yeah, look at this genie Flint, clearly a Pokemon." My parents were like, "Sold." So that's how I got it.
It's like, oh, here's the fire type genie, here's the water type.
Right.
Yeah, they all look. So far, they looked all kind of like bug Pokemon.
Mhm.
Weird big old eyes.
Mhm.
So I was just like, oh, they chose a shit tier Pokemon class. Okay, couldn't go fire or lightning or even fairy type. No, bug. Okay, go ahead and lose in the Pokemon League. Notice how there's never, unless I'm mistaken, I don't think there's ever been a bug Pokemon trainer in the Elite Four.
I don't think so. No.
Yeah, there's a reason.
Either that or that whoever that kid is, he is like hella dope. Like, can you imagine the skill it would take? Like, Jesus.
This
is my Weedle. I'm gonna trump all of you guys. So.
I'm mistaken. I decided to look it up. There's one. He's in the one I didn't play, Diamond and Pearl.
That one.
Yeah, that one. He's the master bug type, and I forgot. I never played those games because at first glance, his hair looks like it has an erection. It's like a green hair erection. It's like, okay, buddy.
Oh no.
I'm sure he would say, no, it's a horn. Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Oh, sure. Horn with quotations around it.
But yeah, would you say there's any? You mentioned sometimes like the turn-based being annoying. Would you say there's anything else about it that you may say is not, like any sort of shortcomings to the game?
Yeah. I mean, remember the game is old. It's really old. So it has sort of the fallbacks of old JRPGs in that you have to walk everywhere. So you get random encounters all the fucking time. Now, Golden Sun was a little bit ahead of its time in that it had kind of like the prior evade thing where you could like get a potion, or I think it was a feather, and for whatever reason it warded off monsters for a certain amount of steps. And so it was a decent amount of steps. And eventually there's like a synergy thing that you can use to evade too. So there's a way around it, but you totally do like every 10 steps have to fight some bats or some shit. Which, is what makes it difficult to get from town to town and gives you something to do. At the same time, you can also like random encounter more genie. Or random encounter like important plot devices and stuff. So it's interesting. But 90% of the time it's bats. It's like the fucking Zubat. So like on one hand, like, thank you for the extra experience, but also, like, oh my god, really?
Yeah.
So, it really just depends on what mood you're in when you're hit with your 30th direwolf attack.
Yeah, that's the one thing I found kind of weird, kind of playing through, because
Mm-hmm.
As far as the kind of random encounters goes, I normally expect sort of a themed monster, depending on which area I would go to. Like I expect, if I'm going to the spooky cave, I'm gonna probably see some more skeletons and some I don't know, weird little bat thing. And
Uh-huh.
then when I go outside, maybe I'll go against like a goat or an angry bee or something. But I
Right.
started seeing all like here's zombie in the middle of the road. I was like, what the fuck?
And like everybody's chill with that. Like nobody ever mentions like, oh yeah, do you know the undead that are wandering around our town? Like no, no, like nobody wants to talk about that.
All they say is like it's dangerous out there. It's like, yeah, the
Like oh
living
yeah,
dead are
grandma wants to
among
go to the
us.
spaghetti. Like oh okay, neat. But yeah, and there's like lots of weird unexplained monsters everywhere. And like they never actually tell you how they came to be. Like they just say like, oh yeah, like synergy hit them and shit got weird. Like you want to like go into depth about how we have the undead walking around, but no,
I
it's like
mean, it's that energy, global warming.
right, exactly, exactly.
I guess that's an interesting sort of analogy there. Just like this is, I didn't expect this to be a global warming story.
Yeah, neither did I.
It's like the whole time is like, okay, shit's out of whack. I gotta put things back where they belong, but no,
And
we
then
gotta.
this huge environmental kick. It's weird.
I guess it's also kind of weird how since you're playing the protagonist that's wrong, we don't realize it. You spend the entire first game failing.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah, that's also kind of weird. Like it's
Yeah.
you kind of expect at least one victory,
No.
but I get
Like the
yeah, but I
victim
guess
killing
yeah.
the minority, and then later you're like, oh, that was murder. Whoops. So
It also makes me want to imagine like if this game had been made on the PS1, would they have made like both parts as to one into one game? Like the both of the Game Boy Advance games, if they just made it like, oh, here's disc one, here's disc two.
yeah, probably. 'Cause like, way back when it was very difficult to make sprite games instead of getting to, download the free RPG Maker and basically make the same exact quality. But yeah, no, I bet it would be because it's really not complete unless you tell both one and two, because you don't really get a sense
Yeah,
of what.
because if
Yeah.
I'm not mistaken, that game was made like in the very early days of the Game Boy Advance.
Oh yeah.
Because
Real.
so that makes a lot of sense as far as like, because its graphics remind me a lot, its art style of like N64's Harvest Moon.
Yep. It's actually the same sprites as the ones used in Tactics Ogre, um, as well as I think really early Final Fantasy games.
Yeah,
It's
so
the
that's
exact same.
really so
Yeah,
that
like
was
like if you play Tactics Ogre, like sometimes you'll actually see sprites that look exactly like Garrett or exactly like Isaac, and it's weird because they're just colored slightly different. So you're like, okay, Isaac, but with a blue scarf. Interesting.
yeah,
And he's like the super villain, and you're like, okay. But
because it's
yeah.
like sometimes there's some characters that just felt kind of weird, like
Hmm.
as even though I haven't gone through the whole game, but it's like the Dark Elf twins.
Yeah, such as a minority. They just look totally weird for no reason, and they never explain why the Proxians are elves for whatever reason.
Yeah,
Like,
because it's
no
like
one ever talks about that. Even at the end of game two, that's just like something that everybody accepts.
just like yeah, they're the weird ones. Look out for them.
Right.
Even though they like, despite being all mysterious looking, they sure do like talking out loud.
Right.
Yeah, they don't like whisper. They just go like, "Oh, gee, our end of the world plan sure is going great. I
Yeah,
can't
they don't even
believe
like
we
look
screwed
gross.
up."
Like, dude, Isaac and Garrett are like orange and yellow. How did you miss them?
It's like it feels like the funniest like subversion of like the two like evil like twiddling their thumbs like oh yes we did it like
You know what they remind me of?
it's
They
like
always remind me of Team Rocket.
yeah they kind of do except
And
they
that they're just so over the top and ridiculous.
it's
But
like
they're also sort of like the hardcore Team Rocket where they're like, yeah, let's fucking kill these 12-year-olds. Like, what?
yeah it's like that but it's like it's a what if like Ash Ketchum actually like looked through the disguise or just like use basic like you're just standing like a few feet away from me of course I heard
Yeah,
everything.
Yep.
It's like what? It's like what did you expect? You're in the town that was directly like being damaged caused by your own mishap. Like, are you gonna expect everyone just to be gone by now?
Oh my God, that was the other thing. When it's all dark and shit and the Mount Leaf boulder is falling, that was the one thing I had to walk people through whenever I introduced this game. Is figuring out what the staircases look like because they
Oh
don't.
yeah.
And everybody's like, I don't know what you want me to do there. I don't know how to get off this platform. The staircases look so weird. So to anybody starting the game anew, I promise you the staircase looks like a rectangular, weirdly blocky shape. That's a staircase, promise.
It honestly reminded me like that same situation of like with the original Kingdom Hearts, where
Mm-hmm.
you have to deal with Destiny Island as a whole. And it's
Mm-hmm.
like I feel like that's a litmus test where it's like if you can get through Destiny Island, then you will be more accepting of the bullshit that'll be flung in your face. Because I don't think you really see a lot of Disney until like you leave the island. You see a
Yeah.
little glimpse of it, I think, like midway through it, Destiny
Mm-hmm.
Island, but it's like they don't make you go full force. Like, okay, here's what the rest of the game is going to look like
Mm-hmm.
until you get through Final Fantasy Island. Not just Final Fantasy Island, but it's like the weird Final Fantasy characters. Like, oh, here's your protagonist from 10. Here's the other. Here's his best friend from 10. Oh, here's some people from 8.
For hashtag reasons.
But then they're also all kids. Like but don't worry, we killed them. Every single one of them.
Which is infinitely worse, given that they decided independently to make them children. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, but it's like they live at the end when everything's back to normal. But it's like yeah, but for all intents and purposes, they're dead.
You're a
They're,
murderer, Sora.
it's like where's it's all Riku's fault.
Fucking
I,
Riku.
well, I feel like we're kind of reaching the end of the discussion part. Is there anything else you want to mention or talk about when it comes to Golden Sun?
Play it. It's an old game. I know it is. You don't even have to pay for it. Like, you didn't hear it from me, but there are totally ROMs and emulators out there, and it's so worth it. It's so
You
worth it.
can also get it on the Wii U Virtual Console.
Yep.
Have a Wii U. I understand if you don't have one because it's basically dead. I get it. I it's like it's totally understandable. PS4 is going to live longer anyway. Whatever. Even though I still think the Wii
Well,
U has the more
I'm
interesting
I'm still
library.
putting my money on the Steam machine. I know it's kind of wonky right now, but I bet that they're gonna pull it together. I really do. I think they're gonna.
We'll see what happens. I mean, you're probably better off than the Ouya folks.
Yeah, they kind of
I
got.
mean, like I have a Wii U and a PS4, and I feel pretty happy with the setup I have. And it's
Yeah,
like,
I've been so tempted to get a PS4. I haven't done it yet.
and it's honestly pretty worth it at this point. Initially when I first got it, I would have said hold up, but now more than ever, I'll say get it.
All
And
right.
also try to find a friend's house if they have a PS4 with PT, and I'm one of those people.
I mean, you knew me in undergrad. I definitely was like, "Hey, friend who has consoles."
Because I like looked it up. Like the PS4s with PT installed on them sell for a lot. So it's like if I ever go like I don't need this brilliant horror game anymore, like I can get it. I can snag myself a good 2 grand.
That's true, you could.
I could, but you know what? The game
Also, they
is
are
worth
super
two
sleek
grand.
looking. They are super sleek.
Yeah,
Like,
but
I mean, they try. God bless them, they try.
yeah.
But it is clunky as hell still.
Uh, well, with that being said, that marks the discussion part. Is there any sort of shout outs you would like to give for yourself or maybe for others?
Well, I'd like to go ahead and thank Kitty for being my best friend of 15 years. Now that we've talked about Golden Sun and how we met, and I've probably embarrassed her publicly on the internet. Um, give out a shout out to Dominic for potentially signing him up for something that he doesn't know about yet. And thank you to you too, Jack. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Oh, anytime. And viewers listening in, if you would like to hear more about my thoughts, you can always go to my Twitter at Hendrix where I have all the good tweets. The ones that you haven't heard of are on my Twitter.
Can verify. Good tweets are there.
Yeah, I don't even need it verified. It's like they asked me if I want the blue check mark. I said no, I'm indie. Fuck your corporate shit. I won't. I'm not going to be one of you.
None of you plebeians.
Yeah, yeah, you blue check mark plebeians. I'm much cooler than you. You'll know as of recording. I have the best icon as well because it's a hand drawn ditto. That's black and white with a weird old face. That is my it's lazy ditto is my icon name that I've given myself. So just look for that. You'll know what it is, and you'll also know by the good tweets as we discussed earlier.
The good tweets, they're there.
They're there. So with that being said, thank you again, Amelia, for being on my show.
You are welcome.
All right, and with that, it's time for the music cue.